In Belgium, the third European Union CELAC summit is underway to promote reforms in the composition of the international financial system and energy transitions. In Argentina, indigenous movements mobilized to the National Congress and the Supreme Court of Justice to demand the repeal of the constitutional reform in the Jujuy province. And in Russia, authorities confirmed that the attack on the Crimean bridge was carried out by 2 Ukrainian drones. A couple died and the daughter was injured as a result of the attack. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Ana Marrero from the teleSUR headquarters in Caracas, Venezuela. We'll be with the news. Stay with us. The third summit between the European Union and the Community of Latin American and Caribbean States began on Monday in the Belgian capital. After 8 years without the bi-regional forum, the meetings of heads of states and governments returned with topics of the agenda such as tackling climate change, the ecological transition, the digital transformation, the defense of human rights, peace, innovation, and the fight against inequality. For 2 days, leaders representing 60 countries, 33 from the CELAC and 27 from European Unions, and both than billion human beings will have the opportunity to build a joint path towards meeting the challenges. President of the European Council, Charles Michel, and Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Ralph Gonsalves, in his capacity as President pro tempore of CELAC, lead the discussions. Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Ralph Gonsalves, during the European Union CELAC summit, addressed the negative consequences of armed conflicts on the world economy and poor countries.
Continues to consume abundant treasure and to cause the shedding of unnecessary blood. And the global economy bleeds unnecessarily too, as the warring and fighting bring enormous additional pain and suffering to the poor in distant lands through rising prices of food, oil, and borrowings. So let there be constructive peace talks, not unproductive posturing in quest of hegemony or imperial domination. Of course, Ukraine is not the only theater of war or armed conflict, which ravages people and destroys lives and livelihoods beyond the immediacy of the hazardous battlegrounds. These two demand peaceful resolution. The people of Haiti, the Palestinians, populations in the various parts of Africa, the Middle East and Asia have more immediate challenges.
Welcome Salves also mentioned that humanity needs new ways of governance and that the hegemonic mechanisms of the past should not prevail.
With the actions of the old ways, and the rulers of yesteryear or of today can no longer rule in the old way. The questions to be asked and answered are these. Can they rule in any way other than the old way? Can they embrace meaningful change for humanity's sake? Are they ruled, prepared for a continuance or any resurgence of a rule in the old destructive ways?
Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez highlighted the importance to collaborate through commercial and environmental activities with the aim of keeping the countries of both European and Latin American regions united.
Settled with other Latin American countries is, with no doubt, the path to follow during the following years. Today, the European Union is the first investor in Latin America. And in order to keep this progress, it's important for us to keep this relationship with all the Latin American countries that we are linked with. The following meeting in Santiago de Compostela is very important to keep this progress we have obtained so far.
Generadoras de empleo local formal en la región y encadenamientos con, evidentemente, el ecosistema latinoamericano y caribeño. Con ese fin, nos proponemos fomentar la participación del sector privado, apoyar la triple transición justa, verde y digital de la región.
We pretend to implement the economical growth, the environmental growth of all the countries. And in order to do that, we need to keep united in the following meeting in Santiago de Compostela.
The president of Argentina, Alberto Fernández, spoke about why the countries should be united, even if the COVID-19 pandemic is already over.
COVID-19 pandemic has affected all Latin American countries in the Caribbean.
En un contexto en que las instituciones multilaterales fueron puestas a prueba por una crisis sin precedentes.
During this time, our economical growth and social and healthcare system has been put into proof through all this time with a very important pandemic which the world has never seen before.
En su plano externo, buscamos profundizar el relacionamiento tanto con nuestros socios extrarregionales como con distintos espacios y organismos de integración regional.
We plan to keep united between Latin American countries, but also we pretend to consolidate unity with other countries, especially through dialogue with the European Union.
The president of Honduras, Xiomara Castro, during his intervention in the European Union's CELAC summit, condemned the United States' blockade against Cuba and asked to make a joint declaration against it.
EU-CELAC summit must adopt a resolution which calls for the end of the blockade against Cuba. The United Nations have condemned this as an arbitrary measure, obsolete, which destines a whole people to a situation of sacrifice where they could achieve a high standard of living.
The Honduran president also called for an end of piracy and the theft of goods in foreign soils.
We must stop the confiscation of goods, pirating. We are all exposed to this risk that one day our own reserves might have been frozen in foreign banks. We might face the situation that we can no longer transport the products that our people need. We would like to add our voice to those who've talked about restoring the heritage to the people of Venezuela. Let's remove the obstacles that prevent us from having a proper trade relationship with neighbouring countries like Nicaragua.
Let's take a very first break, but remember you can now follow our TikTok account as teleSUR English. There you will be able to see news in different formats, news updates and more. Stay tuned for more news. Welcome back to From the South. In Belgium, the People's Summit continues with objectives focused on meetings, the needs for peace and integration among the countries of the world. During the afternoon of this Monday, the debates and meetings continued in which the main problems that affect the people, among them decolonization and the patricializations, were addressed. The speakers also debated about the ecological future, migration, and the problems left by the capitalist model at world level. At the People's Summit Brussels 2023, held in parallel to the European Union's CELAC Summit, Cuban President Miguel Díaz-Canel expressed his satisfaction in participating in the event and also said that the People's Summit is the right place to share ideas and that it is diverse, open, and truly participatory.
We're certainly very happy to share with you this People's Summit in 2023. We're here because this is a space where we can all share our thoughts and concerns. This is a place where people reunite to discuss the main problems in Latin America and the Caribbean. We are here in this meeting because here is where the people in Latin America talk.
In Argentina, indigenous organizations agreed to maintain mobilizations against the government of the province of Jujuy in connection with the Sovereignty Assembly of the Third Milan of Peace. Participants rejected a constitutional reform imposed by the governor of Jujuy, Gerardo Morales, from violating the right to protest and the right of indigenous peoples. Those mobilized announced a march to the National Congress and the Supreme Court of Justice to request a repeal for the constitutional reform and federal intervention in the problems.
Of Purmamarca on this day gather in sovereign assemblies as communities and pre-existing peoples in exercise of our rights and guarantees established in the national constitution and international treaties. We agreed the following: to maintain peaceful demonstration on the road in exercise of the right to protest and to persist until the reform is annulled.
Meanwhile, from a road blog, one of the community members stressed the importance of the march to Buenos Aires to make their demand visible at national and international level.
Today, one of the things that has been reaffirmed is to maintain the presence on the road and to maintain the claim until the reform is annulled. And likewise, the other fundamental point is that it has been defined to take the third marathon to Buenos Aires. Next week, we will surely be starting a march from the north of the province of Jujuy, the aim of which will be to make our struggle visible at a national and international level and to ask the Supreme Court of Justice to rule on the unconstitutionality of this reform.
On Sunday, a shooting occurred in a popular market in Panama while hundreds of fans were watching the Gold Cup final on television. No victims were reported. The shooting began in the Cifa market of the Panamanian capital during the second half of the game played at the Sophie Stadium in Los Angeles, California. The same triggered a stampede of people following the final on television. Officials report informed that there were not injuries and that at least one person, a man, was arrested after the shooting in this market located by the sea and close to the old port of the Panamanian capital. On Sunday, Bolivian media reported that the country's fourth sentencing court ratified the 10-year prison sentence imposed in 2022 on former de facto President Yanine Áñez in the so-called Coup 2 case. Áñez was found guilty of a branch of duty and resolutions contrary to the Constitution and the law. She was accused by the prosecutor's office of having assumed the presidency of the Senate in 2019 and then of Bolivia without meeting constitutional requirements after the coup d'etat perpetrated against former President Evo Morales by local right-wing, external allies, and the organizations of American states. And now let's take our final break, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at teleSUR English, there you will be able to watch our interviews, top stories, special broadcasts, and more. Hit the subscribe button and active the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. For financial break, don't go away. Welcome back. Monday, the National Anti-Terrorist Committee reported that the Crimean bridge was damaged due to the attack of surface drones of the Ukrainian armed forces. A couple was killed and their daughter was injured during the attack. Russian Ministry of Transport informed that the supporting structure of the bridge was not damaged, but the road on these sections from the Crimean side were affected. The governor of the Crimean Peninsula, Sergei Azaryanov, urged citizens to refrain from traveling across the bridge and to choose an alternative lava road for safety reasons. The senior official said state agencies are working on the incident with the assistance of the government of Moscow in order to normalize the situation.
The Investigative Committee of Russia opened a criminal case under Article 205 of the Criminal Code of the Russian Federation, which means a terrorist act in connection with the damage to the Crimean bridge. According to the investigators, on the night of July 16 and 17th, one of the sections of the Crimean bridge was damaged as a result of a terrorist act committed by the Ukrainian Special Forces.
The spokeswoman of the committee in charge of the investigations also noted that the corresponding professionals have been appointed to identify the persons responsible for the crime.
Were killed a man and a woman who were driving a car over the bridge. Their daughter, who is a minor, was injured and is receiving medical assistance. In the framework of the criminal case, the necessary experts have been appointed. The investigation establishes the persons from among the Ukrainian Special Services and armed formations involved in the organization and execution of this crime.
Monday, delegates arrived at the G20 meeting of finance ministers and central bank governors. They will discuss debt restructuring agreements, multilateral bank reform, and financing to tackle climate change with the aim of bolstering a global economy in recession. The group of 20 major economies will also discuss reforms of multilateral development banks, regulations of cryptocurrencies, and how to facilitate access to finance to mitigate and adapt to the effect of climate change. The number of people killed or missing due to the torrential rains in recent days rose to 49 after 4 bodies were recovered from a subway road that flooded in central South Korea, authorities said on Monday. The Osong underground road in the central city of Jujuy was flooded on Saturday when a nearby river overflowed due to rising water levels from heavy rains. 15 vehicles, including a bus, were trapped underwater. The 4 bodies recovered brought the death toll to 13 nationwide. 39 people were reported dead as a result of the heavy rains, including 19 in the southeastern province of North Gyeongsang, according to the Central Security and Disaster Countermeasures. Typhoon Tallinn hit southern Hankan this Monday. Authorities have determined to the temporarily close public institutions such as the stock market. The Hankan Observatory activated a typhoon warning number 8, the 3rd highest according to the city's weather warning system, at 12:40 p.m. on Monday local time. After Tallinn's passing schools at the Hankan Stock Exchange were closed on Monday before the typhoon hit the south of the city. Italian authorities step up their heat warning on Monday at the start of the week. They warned to expect temperatures over 40 degrees Celsius in southern Europe. The Italian Ministry of Health issued 10 recommendations to protect the elderly, sick, and pets from the heat and urge people to stay injured during the hottest hours, drink at least 1.5 liters water a day, and avoid extensive exercise in the middle of the day. We have come to the end of this brief, but you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on our socials. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and on Instagram as well. For teleSUR English from the South, I'm Ana Barrero. Thank you for watching.